everybody. I'm Byrony Tresser, and I'm a PT in the Seattle area and also a member of Infinity's Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging group. And I am here today to start another conversation of Infinity's Influencer Spotlights, where we dig into a conversation that helps us build community and belonging across Infinity. So today, I'm joined by Hoku Okamura and Jodie Capell. I will turn it over to them to introduce themselves. Hoku, can you start us off?
Yeah, hey everybody. I'm Hoku. I'm part of the DEIB team. I'm a Portland PT and outpatient. And I'm so glad to have Jodie here with us, a fellow outpatient PT. Jodie, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure, thanks. Um, Hi, I'm Jodie Capell. I'm a physical therapist in the Tacoma, Washington area. I've been a physical therapist for 30 years, but it was a process. I started from in teaching and went to athletic training and then ended up in physical therapy. Um, I grew up in the South and I've been living in Washington for 23 years, and that brings me to today.
Yeah, it sounds like I mean I can hear the accent is still with you. I'm wondering like what part of like how growing up in the South maybe like shaped you and your person today.
Um, yeah, I think it shaped me a lot. I grew up in the South in the turbulence of the 60s with the racial, uh, the march from Selma to Montgomery and the fight for racial equality. And um, the, that certainly influenced my initial upbringing because of the being in the South and just looking at that issue from that point of view. Took leaving the South to get a more holistic view of that whole situation. Um, uh, I grew up in the Bible Belt, so it certainly influenced my growing up as gay and coming out. And so, yeah, it's probably the number one influence on my person was growing up in the South.
Yeah, it sounds like you're really involved in athletics growing up. Um, I wonder if you'd be willing to tell us what that was like, getting into women's athletics and how that influenced who you are now.
Uh, yes, that was another very important thing that influenced me. I was very athletic. I was very competitive with my brother, and then that went into organized sports for girls at the recreational level, and then Title IX passed, so I had the opportunity to be fortunate enough to, in high school, to have the opportunity to do numerous individual and team sports, and was awarded a athletic scholarship. One of the member of the first class of women athletes to legally be given athletic scholarships for college. So that allowed me to go to college and to continue my playing.
I feel like you're a little bit like Forrest Gump, like how there are just like these important markers in like chronology history where you're like, oh yeah, also I was in Selma and like it's all these incredible things that have happened over the course of your life. Incredible. Um, so of course you became a PT and I'm wondering what like PT school was like for you. I think that was part of kind of your coming out process and um yeah, I wonder if you could speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, it was. It was a very instrumental part of my coming out. It was the no, it was. I was still in the South. I was at the University of Alabama in Birmingham. First time that I really met people, worked with people from all over the United States that had different viewpoints on things, and so that was eye-opening for me. I was discovering about my own self, my own truth about being gay, and so on. And there was being in the South and being in a professional environment, there was no real openness, or you didn't talk about it. You just kind of relied on your gaydar. And uh, so there were a portion of our classmates that were gay, and we did tend to congregate, but we never talked about being gay, or we or anything like that. But ultimately, I did meet my uh, wife. Uh, she was in my class, and we eventually got together and got married. And it was a different process, because a lot of our professors were rumored to be gay, and um, but there was no, like I said, no conversation, no openness, no real support. So um, it was very, very closeted, and that still influences me today as far as my work relationships. But
Yeah, it's you brought to my attention an article written by a PT school professor of yours. And that just it just kind of rocked my world, like why we can talk about so many other aspects of our life in the workplace, but why is it unprofessional to talk about um, you know, life in a like in other types of relationships and family structures? That really just like kind of rocked my world a little bit. I really thank you for bringing that to my attention. And Jody, I think you're just a real brave person. I'm so glad that you're having this conversation with us today. Like I'm learning a lot. Um, and I'm thinking about like what your experience was like with like, I'm sorry if I'm pushing this, about like with your family and how that went, and if you've been able to like build a family of support um in your own community.
um, yeah, it was a very difficult time. My family was not accepting, um, and that was part of the process of me moving to Seattle. Sometimes 3,000 miles difference makes things easier to to deal with. But um, yeah, you end up, we call it family, your friends that are your family, and you just kind of develop your own support system. And it's certainly a different culture here in the Pacific Northwest. So here we are surrounded by people that are straight and gay and all that are part of uh, our family. Um, and it's a process of reconnecting with my biological family. Um, so it it's an ongoing process, and it's very disheartening that we've come so far, with gay marriage, um, and a lot of things in the South have not changed. And so it's it's kind of up and down, and it's a political thing that is very disheartening, especially in these political times. But yeah, within our own uh, family, when our own uh, community, we find our support in our communities, and lots of people that are supportive and loving and very helpful.
Excellent. Thank you. I really appreciate, your vulnerability. I think it's a brave space that you've moved into, and just being open with us. I'm so thankful. When we're having these conversations about like vulnerability and being your authentic self, I think about like leadership, and I see you as a leader in this space, stepping into this space and saying, you know what, I have something to say, and I think it's super powerful, and I'm really glad that we're having this conversation. And thinking about what components of leadership really speak to you.
Um, I think being authentic is a leadership quality. And as we've talked before, I still struggle with being authentic with the patient relationship. So it's hard for me to say that that's one of the qualities I have as a leader, but I certainly respect it in other people. And I really appreciate that there's this opportunity to open up and share my experience with, uh, I hope, with a younger group that doesn't ever have to go through it or doesn't even wonders why it's such a big deal still. But yeah, I think people that can be authentic in the workplace, whatever that looks like, I think is makes for excellent leaders. And um, I think that draws people to you, to someone that's really authentic. And I think people that can delegate and problem solve and um, just be a steadying force within the workplace, because there's so much going on these days and all. So um, those would be things that I admire in leaders.
It sounds a little bit like my friend Jodie.
I don't
Yeah.
think so, but thank you.
Yeah, and I'm wondering a little bit, like I wonder if you had grown up in a place that you really felt like you could be your real self, like you didn't have to be closeted, if that authenticity would be more easily recognized by you, to say like, yeah, you know what? I'm pretty great because that's what I think about you.
Well, thanks.
Um so as we're wrapping up, my final question for us is, what final message do you want to leave our audience with today?
Um, I I think I would like to tell people to be authentic and just be who you are. And the article that we had referenced talked about, what's more important, the patient's right to feel comfortable or your right as a therapist to feel comfortable. And I think being authentic, you can uh, work through that and come to some kind of mutual understanding. It doesn't uh, probably make both parties feel better, and it's certainly a better situation um, when you can understand each other. And um, so, yeah, I think that would be it. There are too many stresses with COVID and all the insurance stuff and all this. It's just to stress about, who you are, who you need to be, what's professional. I think that's another conversation we need to have, is what does professional look like? But yeah, just be yourself. And um, yeah.
I love that so much, Jody. And I think that just your example of being an authentic person and showing up as your full self is part of what Who is mentioning as part of your bravery. And I see that, and I'm so grateful for you helping to create that brave and safe space that we're trying to create, not only for our other colleagues that we're working with, but also for our aging population. And that may be identifying as part of the LGBTQIA community, or for the young adults who are kind of moving into the workforce. And so, we know things like people who identify as LGBTQIA are more likely to be isolated as they age, or less likely to seek out healthcare, or young adults are more likely to attempt suicide because they don't have safe and brave spaces that they can be that authentic and that true self. So by you stepping into this sphere, we're helping to create that change, that culture that we really want to create for all of our community members. So I just really am so grateful for you engaging us with this conversation.
Thanks for giving me the space. And you guys are both fantastic. You do so much for the whole company, community, everything. You just are amazing. So thanks.
Everybody should stay tuned for next time where we talk about what is professionalism, because that's something we should talk about. I mean, that really, I felt that. That really hit me. Okay, great. So, everybody tune in to our next installment. And Jodie, thanks again. I really appreciate you.
My pleasure. Thanks, guys.